Hi, students. I wanted to do a breakdown of the narrative essay. I have graded the papers, and you are going to have an opportunity to revise the papers. So I wanted to go over them via video so that you could be very successful if you are wanting to revise your paper. So let me talk a little bit about the revision first. So anyone that did the paper, I'll talk about that in a minute, can revise the paper. So that means if you submitted the narrative essay and you're getting it back and getting a grade on that, then that means you can revise that essay and get all your points back except if you had any late points. Those don't come back. But other than that, you can get all your points back. So in order to revise the essay, couple things. Read over I give everyone a note in the comments, but then I also make corrections and notes throughout your paper. So read those. So that will, explain what you need to do to get all your points back. And then also, I suggest reviewing the writer's workshop video because I think that can help you too with the essay structure. So I wanted to go over some issues that came up the most and discuss them in a little more detail to help you to be successful. All right. So first of all, I want to go over essay structure because that is really the nuts and bolts of the paper. So you've got to, really have good essay structure in this. In this. All right. So I want to talk about the introduction. So for your introduction, remember I think I talked about the layers. I talk about this. Sometimes I refer to it as English lasagna. So you've got to get all your layers in. So for the narrative, remember you needed to explain. In this case, if it's the advice or the right words, either one, you need to explain what that advice explain the advice, who said it, why did they say it, and then explain. So you're explaining that. You're also explaining your situation, your specific situation of why that advice was really connected with you. The reader needs that piece of the puzzle to make this all come together. All right. And then in addition to that, then you need to transition to the thesis. So you need at least one sentence that connects your background, which is the words, and also your situation to your thesis, right? So you need that transition, and then you need your clear thesis statement. So your clear thesis statement must contain your topic and your idea about your topic. Remember that, topic plus idea about topic. You also, in a narrative essay, another way to think of it is, what did I do and what did I learn from what I did? So in this case, because it's connected to the best advice or right words at the right time, you really should include those too. So for example, so and so gave me this advice, and then I that helped me specifically to do this, something like that. It would work, right? So um, it's just got to be really focused. So you've got to have all the elements in it. So for example, let's say I'm going to Google some inspiring words and see what I come up with, just to give you an example that we didn't use before. So here we go, inspiring words. We'll see what the first one that comes up, inspiring words. Inspiring words. All right, let's see what it says. What's our first one? Um, Smile. Okay, it's literally smile. It says 7 rules for life, and it says smile. Okay, fine. Let's say I don't know, who told us to smile? A friend told us to smile. Maybe we're just being very serious and we didn't realize that, and it was, having an effect on our life. So it might be something like, when my friend, when my best friend told me to smile more, that had, I'm trying to think of this fast. When my best friend told me to smile more, that had a great impact on my life. by helping me to form better relationships with others. Boom, right? Boom, big dog idea, right? So you've got your topic, you've got your idea, and you've got the words, you've got the actual words and how they affected you. So in this case, helped you to form better relationships with others. So then remember your topic sentences. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but they're going to be smaller categories of the, in this case, relationships with others. Might be family, might be friends, might be at work, or coworkers, whatever, right? So whatever, I mean, like, that you get to choose, obviously, but it needs to be focused, right? So so you need to have all the layers there. If there is something missing, if there is a layer missing, like your thesis statement really is a little more general or needs to be more specific, I tell you that, right? If there's something, the transition is missing, or you didn't give much of the background, or you gave the words in that background, but you didn't give your situation, I let you know that, right? So the good news is this is an easy issue to fix. You just put in what's missing, right? So if you're missing a part, then you put that in and you can fix that. All right. So let's talk about the thesis statement. I just gave you a sample thesis statement, right? So you've got to have all those elements there. It can't be just kind of general. It can't be something like these words have helped me in numerous ways, or something. That sounds like a transition. It sounds like, here's my intro and I gave the situation, and now I'm going to be going into a thesis and I'm connecting it, but it's not, it's just too vague, right? So you don't want to be vague, because the reader's like this. They're trying to make sense of it, right? And so if you're really vague, they're just still peering at you, right? So just be clear. That's why you want to, go Nike with this. Just do it, right? So you want to be focused. It needs to be very focused. So it can't be too vague. So again, when my best friend told me to smile more, that helped me to form better relationships with others. Ooh, we got to focus, right? I mean, so we know what the words were, we know who said them, we know why they said them. We explained that in the intro, and we know specifically how that helped us in our life. In this case, that I just made up, forming better relationships with others. All right. So if I said that it needed to be more focused, that's an example of what I mean. It has to be there. The thesis has to be there. You really need to know which one is your thesis statement. You don't want to be turning in the paper, or in this case, the revision, and going, please let there be a thesis statement in there, please. Right? No, that's not the way to go. I can promise you, if you feel that way about your thesis, it's not there. So if you're revising and I said you need a more clear thesis, you're going to write that thesis. What I want you to do in your revision, and again, there will be a specific revision assignment, that I want you to highlight your thesis statement with a highlighter, which is on the computer now, and then highlight each of your topic sentences, because that forces us to commit to, this is my thesis statement. All right, with confidence, right? Okay. All right, so now I want to talk about transition words and phrases. Little words, these are little guys, right? They're not huge words, and sometimes because they're little, we forget about them, but we can't forget about them. They're extremely important, right? Because they merge the reader into your next point. They merge you as a writer into your next point. So there's a flow there, right? So you're not just like jolting around. Remember the freeway example I think I gave before, right? So you're merging onto the freeway. You're not just like, we're just jumping in there with all those cars. I'm not looking. I don't care. All right. Yeah, like, this sounds very dangerous, right? And a little alarming for your poor passenger, right? So don't do that to your reader / passenger, right? So don't just kind of like, kind of get into the next point. Smoothly kind of transition. So words like I used in the writer's workshop, first, second, and finally, those work. They're traditional. But they're traditional because people have been using them successfully for years. So you don't have to use those. You could use next, in addition, furthermore. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do this. You could do all numerical, first, second, third, fourth, anything like that is totally fine. The point is that if you have gotten away from doing those, or just didn't know about them or forgot or whatever, that's okay. You can jump back in. You might just do the same ones every time for a while until you just really feel comfortable with them, and then start mixing it up, something like that. So you could do the same ones every time, and it would be fine. I mean, it's they're I know it feels a little formulaic, but it's, as I like to say, it's a formula for your success. You need those little words. They really make a very big difference. So don't forget about them. Again, you can do the same ones, but you can mix it up, but you do need them to be in place. All right. So if you forgot about those, really super easy to add those in. All right. I want to talk now about topic sentences. Oh my gosh, my phone is ringing. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I turned that off. Okay. Well, here we are. All right. So, so I want to talk about topic sentences. Um, Topic sentences are the building blocks of essays. So you do not have really a complete essay at all if you do not have topic sentences. I mean, it's some other kind of thing, but it's not really an essay. You must have topic sentences. So topic sentences, again, are going to be your main idea for each paragraph. One per paragraph, has to support the thesis. And the other thing about topic sentences is that they have to, well, let me say it slightly different. It could be a reason that you think what you think in your thesis, or it could be like a smaller category of what you're arguing about putting forward in your thesis. Let's go back to the example I just gave about my best friend told me to smile more, and that helped me to have better relationships with others. That you could have, like I mentioned before, each paragraph could get a smaller category of the different areas of your life that you are smiling more, and that's having a good effect on you. One might be, family, another might be friends, another might be work, coworkers, or school, or whatever, right? It's gonna be different for every person, but some kind of category, right? One category per paper, one area per paper, one reason per paper. And this all goes with what I like to call the plan of attack, right? So you should plan that out before you really do the paper. And again, that can go awry. This is a process. So if you didn't do that, and now you're going to revising, or if you did do it, but you missed it on one or two paragraphs, now is when you get to go back in, look at your existing paragraph, identify the topic sentence. Which one is it, right? Or what's close to it. And if it's not there, then you need to then look at what you have in that paragraph, and what is the common denominator. We get to use a math term, right? What is the common denominator? What's the main idea of the paragraph, right? Then write your topic sentence based on that. If it's a situation where you can't tell what the main idea of the paragraph, because there are a whole bunch of different ideas, then I would separate them into, like, how many different ideas you have. Like, it's kind of like if you have a necklace and it's gotten twisted, you've got to separate out the strands, right? And so every strand has to have its own paragraph. So you need to not have everything in the soup, right? You really got to have one focused idea per paragraph, and then the ideas, the explanation, the example, all that has to support that one idea. So let's go back to my smile example. If I'm talking about the thesis that I just made up, right, for that was that my friend told me to smile more, and that helped me to have better relationships with others. Maybe my first paragraph is going to be a topic sentence that says something like, first, by following my friend's advice to smile more, I got along better with my family. Okay, that's a topic sentence. That's a category. That's an area that I can talk about. Then everything in that paragraph is all about how you smiled more and you have now a better relationship with your family. And you're going to explain that. You're going to give an example, but it can't be about, your friends or your work or whatever. It has to be all about the family in that paragraph. It all has to kind of work together in that way. Also has to support the thesis. So topic sentence, again, building blocks of essays, they have to be there, and you have to be able to identify which sentence it is. If it's not there, that's a major problem. But the good news is you can still put it in. You can do it after the fact. All right. So specific examples. Every single body paragraph, you're going to have your topic sentence, you're going to explain it. You must have specific examples. So if I'm talking about how I'm smiling more, I'm getting along better with my family because I'm smiling more and all that kind of thing in that body paragraph, I need to give an example of that, right? I can explain it, that's good, but the reader's still like, they're doing this again. Really? Where? I don't see what you mean, right? So you've got to be more clear, right? So you've got to say, for example. So I'm really excited about that signal phrase, and I should talk about signal phrases too. But for example is a signal phrase. It's a type of transition that signifies example coming up, right? So you want to do that because it's a really nice, again, smooth transition. I don't know why I'm moving around so much today, but anyway, smooth transition to your reader, not to just jolt them into the example. Like, okay. But anyway, I'd rather be jolted into an example, at least have one, though, but it'd be better to have the signal phrase. Okay, so here's the story. So, for example, and then I'm talking about how, I'm when my dad told me I need to do XYZ and I listened to his advice, and then I said, yeah, thanks, Dad, that was really great advice. And I made sure to smile, right? I give that, and then maybe say that maybe he smiled back, and that sort of thing. So, but you give the little story. I think of it as the little story. And the reason I say it's a little story because it's not like going to go on for a page about this. And then I said this, and they said this, and then we going on pages later, we're like falling asleep. No, okay, but you don't need that long of a story. Little story, few sentences. But it illustrates a time when you did that thing, when you smiled in that circumstance or whatever, right? Or very, very specific details, very, very detailed about what you did. Like it could even be facts or something. Usually that's more of a research paper, but very, very, very specific details. I can't think of that right now, but little story, right? All right, so good news is that if it's not there, you can still put it in. Super easy to add in the example if you don't have it in. Here's a tip. Here's like a little writing tip. If you are writing a paper for like any class, and you have a length, you always have a length requirement, right? So let's say you have a length requirement and it's 4 pages or 3 pages or whatever it is, and you're short on space. Like you only have like 2.5 or something. I mean, you don't want to just like start getting the biggest words you can find and or making your print super big or something like that. No, but what you can do, go back into that paper, look at each body paragraph, and then say, hey, did I add an example when I explained that? I have my topic sentence, I have my explanation, but did I add a specific example? Or if I did, was it specific enough? Could I explain a little bit more? Can I give a little bit more of that scenario? That's how you make a paper, develop more, as we like to say, right? All right. So, and then conclusion. You must have a conclusion. That is a huge part of your essay. You don't want it to just here. I'm going to go with my car metaphor again. You don't want it to just come to a screeching halt, right? And now we are at the end. I guess we're done. It's over, right? No, don't do that to them. So you need to have a full paragraph for your conclusion, a full paragraph. No new information. This is not where you are saying, well, actually, that was true, but now I'm also smiling more in these other areas, and that's also helping me. No more information. No, we can't handle it in this paragraph, right? Or you don't want to disagree with your thesis and just say, actually, but sometimes I don't really smile as much anymore. No, forget that. Different paper, right? Support your thesis. No new information in that paragraph, but it has to be a full paragraph. Like it can't be combined with one of the other paragraphs. It has to, you're in that conclusion, you've got to touch back on your thesis. In this case, touch back on the words about the person that said the words, right? About the person that gave you the advice. Go back to that idea, go back to them, say the words again. Say your thesis again, but not word for word. Like it's not like a rerun. Like you're like, I read that somewhere. No, but go back to that point, re-emphasize it, refocus on it, one technique is you could sum up your topic sentences. That's one thing that you could do, not the only way. You can offer a final thought, but not a final new idea thought, but just a final thought that's kind of at a deeper underneath level of what you're talking about, kind of why is this so important, that kind of thing. But basically, formula, touch back on the thesis. You could possibly summarize your topic sentences, go over your main point again, just re-emphasize, give closure, wrap it up, no cliffhangers here. And just, that's it. But no breaking news. This just in. No, you're not doing that to us, okay? I say us. I don't know, me. You're not doing that to me. Okay. All right. Someone else might read this. All right. I don't know. It's sometime in the future. Okay. So, has to be in college essay structure. So I've gone over all of that. That is standard college essay structure. Your paper must be in standard college essay structure. You've got to, so good thing about essay writing is it never changes. So once you really have it down, it's always going to be the same. It was the same in the 1700s. It was the same 100 years later. It's going to be the same 100 years from now. So once you get it, you are going to just have it. So now then you go to your history class and you've got to write a 10-page paper, fine. I mean, all you do is you add more body paragraphs. You have the basic essay structure. So that's all good, right? So you've got that. So, but you've got to get the essay structure. So it's a little uncomfortable at first, but once you get it, you have it for life. It's the same. It never really changes. So you have to have this in essay structure. So sometimes I think just human nature, we hear narrative essay and we think narrative, I've got to tell my story about when this thing happened and the person gave me advice and everything. And here's what we do. I'm going to try to explain this without knocking my easel over. Okay. Here's what we do sometimes. We start at the beginning of the story. Well, I had this situation. This person gave me this advice, and here's what they said and everything. He said this, and I did this, and then I did this. Then this other thing happened. I did this, I did this, I did this. And then next, I did this. And then this other thing happened. And suddenly, we're just going along with all the things that happened in chronological order. I did this, I did this, I did this. But that's not a narrative essay. That is maybe telling a creative story. That's telling somebody what happened in the order it happened, but it's not an essay. So if you did that, that's okay. It's human, right? But you've got to take your document in this case, and you've got to use it as information to then take your info and put it in the right categories. You can think of your paragraphs as categories, right? And so then you've got to put it into that essay structure. And once you get it, it just all comes clear, and in the sky, just opens up and it's sunny and lovely. So anyway, I know it can be a little confusing at first, but once you get that down, it really does all come together. So I wanted to talk about that, and I'm going to flippity-doo-dah this over, and then I want to talk about really quick sentence structure. So the major points I counted off are essay structure, because that's the nuts and bolts of essay writing is the structure. That is the most important. But I did count a little off for sentence structure because it is an English class and you should know this. So I want to talk about that. So the most common sentence issues that came up, which tend to be the most common sentence issues. Number one, fragments. I'm going to talk about fragments. So a sentence fragment is an incomplete sentence. It is an incomplete thought. It is it's part of a sentence, and part of it has either gotten left behind in the previous sentence, or part of it is in the next sentence, usually is what happens. And there's also a different type that I'll try to talk about. So I'm going to try to give an example of a sentence fragment really quickly. This is from the textbook. So if you look at chapter 6 in Steps to Writing Well, these are from the textbook. All right, so it says, David bought a gopher ranch. Something like this. So it says David bought a gopher ranch, period. All right. And then we had trying to get rich quick. Well, we don't know why David bought this gopher ranch or any more information. But this is a complete sentence. Okay. This one is not trying to get rich quick. If you didn't read this first part, trying to get rich quick is confusing at best. It seems like something is missing. Well, it is. It's the subject. In this case, David. He got left behind in the previous sentence. So that makes it a fragment. Your fragment is either going to be missing the subject, in this case, this guy, or the verb. So it's missing some major part of the sentence that it can't stand on its own. They're easily fixed. So you can either put the subject back in. David bought a gopher ranch. He was trying to get rich quick. Well, now it makes more sense. We've got a subject. We've got the verb. We're okay, right? You could also say something like David bought a gopher ranch and then just combine them, trying to get rich quick, right? Fine, combine them into one sentence. So here's like a little tip. If you're thinking, well, that sounds really good, but at midnight or whatever, when I'm working on this paper, thinking about nouns and verbs sounds super stressful to me at that point. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't want to do that either. So I think sometimes it's helpful to just think of it in practical terms. And so if you read the sentence and if it makes sense, that's a good sign, right? If it doesn't make sense, then it's like by itself, not with the sentence before it, not with the sentence after it. If it doesn't make sense by itself, you have a problem, right? So David bought a gopher ranch. Yeah, we don't know why. I mean, that just sounds, I don't know what, right? But it makes sense at least. But trying to get rich quick doesn't really make sense because you're like, who's doing the trying about what? What's happening here? I'm so confused, right? So if you have that feeling of confusion, if you only read that sentence, that's a problem, right? So here's another tip from the book, from chapter 6 in Steps to Writing Well about fragments. It is true that. It is true that. This is a little tip that you can try this. It is true that. If you put that phrase, it is true that, in front of a complete sentence, it will make perfect sense. If you put it is true that in front of a fragment, it won't make any sense. And then you have a fragment. So let's try it. It is true that David bought a gopher ranch. Yeah, it makes sense, right? Again, we don't know why, but that's okay. It is true that to get rich quick. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't, right? So again, we've got a fragment. So that if everyone usually has one sentence issue, that's kind of their issue. So if sentence fragments are yours, that's fine. You can fix it, and that's something that what I would do is like a check. I would look for my shorter sentences, and then I would put that phrase in front of it and just try it out. And that can really kind of help you to find them. And then once you find them, you can correct them, right? Okay, so that was a fragment. So a run-on is the opposite issue. It runs on. A run-on has what we call two or more independent clauses running together in the same sentence. So basically, you have different parts of a sentence that they could each stand as their own sentence, and they're all just running together. Like, we gotta get them regrouped, right? So let's do the same. I'm going to use the same example. So it says David bought a gopher ranch. He was trying to get rich quick. Okay, now we've turned this into a run-on. So check this out. So David bought a gopher ranch. He was trying to get rich quick. This is a run-on because we have David bought a gopher ranch. That is what's called an independent clause. It is a complete sentence, or could be. It has all of the parts to be totally independent and stand on its own. But look, this does too. He was trying to get rich quick. that is also an independent clause. We can see we have two subjects here. We don't need two of those. Then there's no punctuation to link them together. So what do you do if you have that problem? David bought a gopher wrench. You can separate it with a period, right? So David bought a gopher wrench. He was trying to get rich quick. Okay, fine. A period. Now we don't have the problem anymore. We have two sentences, not one. So each one is its own sentence. No more run-on. Or you could do this. These words, and, as, since, and because. These little words right here are a great way to fix a run-on because you can choose one of them and fix and combine the two elements. So David bought a gopher ranch since, I like since in this case, since he was trying to get rich quick. So then we don't have a run-on, and we connected the two parts that were independent clauses, and we kind of fused them together, making a more complex sentence, right? And so now, no more run-on, right? And so that you should know how to do that because sometimes it works to break them in two, but especially if you have shorter independent clauses, you don't want it to, I'm going to back to my when I learned how to read in first grade, like see Jane run or whatever, right? So you don't want your sentences to sound really choppy, like they came from a first grade reading book or something like that, right? So that's why you don't want to only do the period. You have to kind of evaluate each one. So and, as, since, or because, right? So any of those will work. Here's another one that could work. Another fix, the semicolon. And so semicolons can be super confusing. There aren't that many uses for them, but this is one of them. So I don't know if you can read this. I'm sorry for all this here, but this, instead of the since, I could put a semicolon there. So it is true that David bought a gopher ranch, semicolon. He was trying to get rich quick. So that, a semicolon in this case, is saying, I know that this is an independent clause, and I know that this is an independent clause. I don't want to separate them into two sentences because maybe the meaning is really important to be together. And I don't want to clutter them with one of these connecting words because it's like, I don't know, like what you're saying in each case is just really strong or something. Then a semicolon might be the way to go. So that says that you understand that these are two independent clauses, but you personally would like them to be in the same sentence, and you don't want to use one of these words to connect them. It's not done that much, to be honest. Like if every single sentence you had was using a semicolon, it would just be strange. It might be grammatically correct, but it might be a strange style thing to do. So use them sparingly, but effectively. All right, so that's the run-on, and then let's just talk real quick about the comma splice. So that's like my favorite one, kind of not to talk about, and I'll tell you why it's my favorite one. Okay, so the comma splice. The comma splice is like a run-on, but it has a comma in the middle. So you have an independent clause, you have another independent clause, and they are joined with a comma. You can't do that. It really freaks your comma out. The reason it's my favorite is I don't know if it's really my favorite. I used to do them when I was a student at Solano. I got a paperback and it said comma splice, comma splice. I did not know what it was, to tell you the truth. And I just thought, I don't know what it is, but it looks bad. They're everywhere. What's happening, right? So I learned what it was. I learned how to fix it, and I'm passing that info on to you. All right. So let's go back to David and his gopher ranch. So David bought a gopher ranch, comma, he was trying to get rich quick. All right, David bought a gopher ranch. He was trying to get rich quick. All right, so David bought a gopher ranch. We know that's an independent clause. We've got a comma right here. He was trying to get rich quick. Uh-oh, this is an independent clause too. They're joined with a comma. You cannot do that to your comma. Your comma is not strong enough to hold up these two independent clauses. It really freaks your comma out. Your comma's like, why did they do this to me, right? You have to go in and rescue your comma if this has happened. So how do you do that? Again, here's our favorite words here for this: and, as, since, and because. So you could choose, let's see, David bought a gopher ranch. Because, let's use because. Because he was trying to get rich quick. So just take the whole comma away. It does not need to be there. There's no reason for it to be there. Comma, David bought a Gopher Ranch because he was trying to get rich quick. That would work. Or again, a period, break it up. Or semicolon if you want to. Or sometimes you can switch the phrasing and you're just switching the phrasing around and that takes away the issue. But at any rate, that's a comma splice. That's how to fix it.